Quite related.
Start there. Students, ಧ್ಯಾನ ಮಂಜು ಹೌದು ಧ್ಯಾನ ಮಂಜು ಓ ತುಂಬಾ ಸರ್ ಇದೆ నావాసన పడుతుంది ఓకే వెయిటింగ్ ఫర్ నరసింహారావు హలో హలో
అట్లా ఉన్నారు.
సార్ నరసింహరావు సార్ హలో హలో
తిరుపతి ఫైనాన్స్.
హలో
సార్ నరసింహరావు సార్
చెప్పండి.
సార్ వినపడుతుంది సార్ సార్ ఓకే ఇట్స్ క్లియర్ సార్
Yes, it is clear. And can you hear me loudly?
ఎస్ సార్
కింద రివ్యూ వచ్చిందంట.
సార్ ఇట్స్ ఓకే సార్
Yeah, it's okay. If you feel it is okay, now I can start.
ఓకే సార్
Start the meeting now.
సారీ ఫర్ ఇన్కన్వీనియన్స్ ఆఫ్ ద నెట్వర్క్ సార్
No, it's not a problem because even here we don't have the power. I'm sitting in a dark room. Probably
okay.
my video is right, I think.
just only begin with few words sir
Right.
okay sir
Shall I
okay.
mute it now?
So
Can I mute my mic now?
okay sir
Mute cheyamantara mic?
okay sir no problem sir
Right,
sir.
right.
change sir okay sir the fabulous good morning to one and all right now here. So I'm Varun Kumar from the NECG Narayana Engineering College, Kudo. I'm very delighted to say a few words about today's webinar resource person. He is none other than Dr. Kedar Narasimha Rao garu from the English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. He is a renowned personality in language of English. So he came from different parts of the domain, and he started his career as there is a technical problem. We have a good opportunity using this type of a handset webinar because of a good personality here with just I'm going to give because the technical problem there is a lot of the time is went wrong because of that. I'm going to give a chance to that and talk with a resource person from AFLU, Dr. K. Narasimha Rao garu. Sir, unmute, sir, please. Sir, okay, sir, is it clear, sir?
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay,
And,
sir.
may I
Sir, some
start?
technical problems
May I
are coming across, sir, so that it is a. I'm not very
So,
clear to
am I
read.
audible?
It's okay, sir.
Yeah, am I audible to all the participants? Just confirm it and then I will start.
Okay, sir. It is audible, sir.
So if you get the feedback from all the participants that I'm loud and clear, and I will start my talk.
Okay, sir.
Please confirm it and tell.
Okay, sir. It's confirmed, sir. Okay, sir.
So how many participants are there today for the webinar?
So at the beginning, sir, 41, sir. Registered more than 156, sir.
And from which parts of the country, and mostly from Nellore or even from Telangana and also across the country?
In different parts, sir. Different parts of Nellore and other districts also.
Hello.
Sir.
How many? Most of them, I think, are from engineering colleges, especially from Narayana Group, I think, and also from different parts of the state, I think. So. Is it so?
Only in Narayana Engineering College, neighboring districts of the Nellore, sir.
So most of them are from English faculty.
Yes, most of English faculty.
Because this is entirely English language teaching, and we can't have participating in this seminar. I told you.
Okay.
So shall I start now? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, Arun, for introducing me with your kind words. And may I just tell you, I started my career as a teacher in an engineering college, right from Hyderabad only. From Kondapur. In Kondapur, there was an engineering college. Now it was moved to Unity district, Vigyan's Engineering College. It is now in Deshmukhi. So in 1997, I started my career there, and slowly grew up as a teacher, because I don't have teaching experience like most of us would have at the starting of the career, and with good literature knowledge and with an exposure to language and grammar, I started my career as an English teacher. And now a long journey of almost 18 years. Now I am in the English and Foreign Languages University as associate professor in the Department of Indian and Thank you. Hello. 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 So I started my career in such a manner as a humble teacher with very humble origins, with no exposure to teaching, language teaching, but slowly I learned. And today I'm very happy that I'm going to share my experiences with you as a language teacher, and also my experiences with various experiments in language teaching, like reflective practice and chalk and talk method, and structural and behavioral practice, and communicative language teaching practice, and finally the integrative language teaching practice. Now most of us are using in the classroom. And today, in the post-modern and post-structural scenario, we have what we call the post-method condition existing in the classroom. So it is this post-method condition of language teaching is nothing but an eclectic combination of all the methods and practices, where language teaching is done in the cultural context or the social context of a particular country or a particular region. So, English language teaching is a very long journey. and it has a great history. So today my talk will be, as Arun send you the brochure to all of you. It is English language teaching through technology mediation in multilingual context. So this, I think this theme is very apt, given the condition that we are in a very in a situation where the crisis is very rife, and we are going online, and we are opting off what we call this online methods of the Zoom app. Today, now my talk is cast across a Zoom app. In the same way, we have Padlet, which is a very important application which is used by the teachers today, Padlet. And at the same time, we have Cisco web Zooming, web conferencing. So these web conferencing applications in Zoom, or what we call these Zoom applications, and also Google Meets. So today we are brought together by these by World Wide Web through this kind of internet, through high volume internet connectivity, and our images are passed across the globe, and we are in touch with what is happening outside the national boundaries, and also we can consider the other educational contexts also because of these applications, these video conferencing applications. So I think this particular theme is very, very, very important and important given this particular condition of the pandemic. So my talk will touch on three different domains. One is called the ELT, the practice or the praxis, which we call of English language teaching, and then how the history of how the English language teaching has acquired a broadened focus of discrete, from teaching discrete grammatical structures to the fostering of meaning-focused teaching. So it's very important that English language teaching gained a kind of transformation which is very beneficial to the students, especially to the language learners. And today, learning has become too much learner-centered rather than the focus applied on teachers' performance. So once upon a time, teacher performing in the classroom was given a high credit, and people are looking up to the teacher. But now it is not the teacher who occupies the center stage of the classroom. The learner-centeredness has brought a new perspective to English language. So this is a kind of transformation where we slowly delved into an important and significant language teaching method called CAL, what we call computer-assisted language learning. And this computer-assisted language learning grew up so that we, in the beginning, we worked with CD-ROMs and Laserdisc, and later on with the mediation of internet and with the technology mediation, fast webcast applications or social networking applications, language learning and teaching has become very broadened and widened, and there are several issues of central importance that have emerged in language teaching scenario, what I can say. So at the same time, we have various perspectives like Web 2 technologies or 3D virtual worlds. Today, teachers are using online discussion forums. So this is a kind of what we call an internet facility, a facility that is provided by the internet to telecast images or telecast a live streaming video across various participants sitting together in a virtual space. So this kind of technology was not there some 80 years back, or at least 30 or 40 years back. But in just 4 or 5 decades, English language teaching has become totally revolutionized, and a new challenge has posed to English language teaching in the form of culture. And this teaching culture in the classroom and how to teach culture in the classroom still remains a big puzzle and enigma for the teacher, because the teachers still remain unsure of how to teach it and how their culture can be taught in the classroom, and in the Indian context, how English language can be taught, and the language language and culture can be taught in a classroom is my basic question. And how we can deal with the practice, how we can have the practice of teaching the English language along with its culture, and what kind of intense methodology, or what kind of adaptable methodology that we can evolve. Because today there is no method, because in the post-method condition, we don't have method, but there is a break with the method, I should say. And today what we are dealing with is a new method in which a learner is centered in the classroom, and we are trying to teach English language and also assimilate some cross-cultural competence, so that the learner acquires the requisite competence to deal with the global demands. So I hope that all of you are well geared up to this talk. And this is the framework of my talk. We are doing the 1.5 hours. And at the end of my talk, I think the forum will be open by the technology facilitator, the web administrator who is overseeing this particular live streaming, because we can have interaction with each other, so that you can ask me questions, and I try to the best of my knowledge to clarify the questions. So let me start, because it is now 11 o'clock, and English language teaching, as I told you, is interlinked with several disciplines. And most of you think that English language teaching is an independent domain. But if you have a very good knowledge of how English language developed as a discipline, you won't say this. Because it is interlinked with several disciplines, especially a science which we call the language science, called linguistics, applied linguistics, and psychology of education. So when we have very good knowledge of psychology of education, applied linguistics, I think ELT can be taught independently. So what I feel is there's ELT, English language teaching, is as inextricably, because it is inevitably linked with these fields as linguistics is with psychology. Many people think that psychology is a science which did not have any influence on any other subject, but psychology has a significant influence both on literature and also language teaching. Especially in language, we have several methods, or what we call language teaching methods, coming into scenario. And these are called silent method, which is brought forth by Gatineau. And at the same time, we have several socio-cultural learning methods also coming into the picture because of this outbreak of psychology. So when we deal with ELT, English language teaching as a discipline, there arises a need to draw a distinction between the history of practice and history of ideas. So two important domains exist in English language teaching. That is, when we look at ELT as a discipline, there are two domains that emerge. One is called history of ideas and history of practice. So that is what is history of ideas? People simply say theory. It is not theory, but there are certain theories where people say what ought to be happening in the classroom is one thing. What ought to be happening in the classroom, and ELT over the years, and what has happened in the classroom is another domain. That is called the history of practice, history of ideas, and history of practice. When we deal with the history of ideas, people say what ought to have happened in the classroom, and what is history of practice? History of practice is nothing but what had happened in the classroom is very important. So these two domains grew up, and these became two different perspectives. And especially these two ideas have influenced a lot, both English language teaching, at the same time how the teaching practices, and at the same time we have also education and classroom related matters, policy matters. Because many people came forward, especially Radhakrishnan Commission in 1948 submitted a document on English education in India. And this English education in India is a new manifesto that how India, the newborn India, is getting up to become a world power. And this kind of scenario, with this kind of scenario, if we just adopt to the history of practice, it appears to be very much akin, very much similar of how language teaching methodology should be done in an English classroom. So the thing is, the history of ideas and the history of practice. There are several theories that do up, and especially Louis Kelly in 20th Centuries of Language Teaching. This is a very important book which came out in 1969. And Louis Kelly in 21st Centuries of Language Teaching, 1969. And I would like to refer to Howard's History of Language Teaching, a very important book which came out in 1983. And the third important text is Richardson wrote this. Most of you would have known it. Richardson wrote his Approaches and Methods to Language Teaching. So these three texts give a historical perspective of language teaching methodologies and how language teaching has emerged as a discipline. English language teaching has emerged as a discipline. So Kelly and Titone, if we just touch upon the historical methods of teaching practices and how teaching has to be done in the classroom and what kind of theories were there behind this practice. So if we adopt Kelly and Titone's teaching foreign languages, if we just look into that book, we also get an insight into a very good distinction that was drawn by Kelly and Titone in this book called Teaching Foreign Languages. What he says that he describes a swing of pendulum, just like what we call, even in literature also, we have two important perspectives that appear. One is called Apollonian method and another is called Dionysian method. Apollonians are people who are very much conservative in nature. They wanted that literature should be based on reason. While Dionysian people or people who supported Dionysian methodology or Dionysian ideology, the set of beliefs which we call. So these people, they wanted that imagination and the flight of fancy have to be given precedence over reasoning and nature. So if we look at even if we look at literature also, there are conflicting methods like Apollonian method and Dionysian method. The same happened even in English language teaching, because many people think that English language teaching doesn't have a history. It is very much wrong to assume that history of English language teaching is very rich and it has a good treasure. And if we just look at Kelly and Titone's statement, the swing of pendulum is between the two important basic positions. One is called form-focused teaching and another is called meaning-focused teaching. So what is form-focused teaching? Form is nothing but grammar. So how the language has to be, the rules of grammar, it emphasizes the teaching of grammatical rules, structures, and at the same time the development of vocabulary. And finally, it focuses on the sounds of language. And if we look at the other important domain or important perspective, it is called what we call the meaning-focused teaching. Meaning-focused teaching it emphasizes on communication and fluency. And many people think that what we call accuracy is different and fluency is different. But you know that if you just go deeper into the important ingredients of fluency, there are three important factors in fluency. One is called fluency comprises the rate of speech. How many words you are speaking per minute. And the second is the intonation pattern. So how audible and how accurate and how neutral, and at the same time how adaptable is your intonation pattern, that is the spoken pattern of the person. And the third important thing is accuracy. Without accuracy, fluency cannot be gained. It was not my statement, but it is the statement of Bruner. So Brunner and Bromfitt strongly said that fluency essentially includes accuracy. So if you just look at the meaning-focused teaching, the domain called form-focused teaching, I dealt with, and meaning-focused teaching, if you look at, we have what we call the language use, how language has to be used, communication and fluency. And the important thing is appropriacy of usage, appropriacy of using language in a particular context. So this is very important, appropriacy of language use in a particular context. So these two perspectives, especially if you see down the ages, there are several advocates. And that's why I told you in the beginning that language teaching, English language teaching, has a great history. And the history in the sense, history is this, how the conflict errors in English language teaching, and how people took two different perspectives, to support the two different perspectives, and how new methodologies come up. Because only in a conflict there arises either what we call a difference of opinion or a consensus of opinion. But because of the difference of opinions that occurred in English language teaching became totally changed. It grew up like anything. And today, if you look at these two perspectives, what is the meaning-focused teaching and focused teaching, we have advocates down pages. And we might agree also with Kelly's statement. I would like to refer to the Kelly statement in language teaching, Louis Kelly. What he said, what we claim as revolutionary in the 21st century is merely a renaming and rethinking of the earlier ideas and procedures. Very great statement. So, not to forget the history of English language teaching, because English language teaching, whatever you have the visibility or you have the vision of the English language teaching happening in the classroom. Don't think that it emerged just like in a snap. There was centuries of struggle behind it. And what Louis Kelly in 20th Centuries of Language Teaching said, that what we claim today as revolutionary in 21st century is merely a renaming and rethinking of earlier ideas and of what is existing earlier as ideas and procedures. So these earlier ideas and procedures emerged in over the period, and today we have a post-method condition existing in the classroom. So if you look at the history of language teaching, if we accept this statement, it is very much necessary that we have to look at the history of language teaching, which goes back as early to the exponents of form-focused teaching. Who are these people who propounded this particular perspective called form-focused teaching, grammar, or what we call grammar translation method? I learned English language only through that method. I'm an old timer. My father taught me in English grammar only in this grammar translation method only. That is first rule and then example. It is not example and then rule. So there are two types of teaching that is called indirect teaching and direct teaching. Direct teaching is learning language, targeted language through targeted language. That is English through English, and at the same time through rules of grammar. And this particular perspective was brought forward first by Montaigne, the French philosopher. That is in 1533 to 1572. Montaigne propounded these principles of form-focused teaching. Next came Locke, John Locke, a famous grammarian, and who also was a great politician who wrote what we call the Grammar of Politics. And finally, we have Hamilton from England. Hamilton, who lived up to 1831. Because I am touching upon even the 19th century also. These three people stand out as apostles of form-focused teaching. First is Montaigne, and then is Locke, and then we have in the 17th century we have Locke, and in the 19th century we have Hamilton. So these three people wanted that English language teaching should have should be entirely focusing on the rules of grammar, structures, and the development of vocabulary, and finally what we call the sounds of language. And if at all, the basic grammar for the language is phonetics according to them. And without the sounds of language, we can't have we can't acquire we can't have the production of language, or we can't acquire language in totality. So that is the kind of opinion that they express. So if we look at if we just look at H.H. Stern, I would like to refer to H.H. Stern in Fundamental Concepts of Language Teaching, which came out in 1984. So in Fundamental Concepts of Language Teaching, there was a fine distinction of these language teaching methods, or the English language teaching was drawn into distinctive periods. So according to Stern, Stern says that from the period 1880 to the beginning of the First World War, this is a period where language reforms were at their height. And why 1880? Most of you would know that what we call International Phonetic Alphabet, which was propounded by Paul Passy. Paul Passy, a French linguist in 1881, was very much instrumental in the realization of international. And it is very essential that a French linguist has expounded the sounds of language or international phonetic alphabet as a standard or received pronunciation of English, which is now recognized as a standard pronunciation of received pronunciation. And Passing's IPA, or what we call the International Phonetic Alphabet, was based on another Englishman who worked before him. His name is called Henry Sweet. Henry Sweet propounded this, what we call Romic. Very good. I think you can also refer in Wikipedia. What is the contribution of Henry Sweet's Romic, R-O-M-I-C. So Henry Sweet's Romic was the base for Paul Passy's IPA. And the second important period, that is from First World War to the interwar years of 1940, because the Second World War ended in 1945. And in 1940, if you just draw the line at 1940, so from First World War to 1940, the interwar years of 1940, we see the development in the basic tenets of vocabulary. Many of you also would have taught the word list in the classroom. I taught. In Siddhartha Engineering College, we don't have a textbook. When I worked in Siddhartha Engineering College from 2005 to 2009, that is 4 years. So during that time, we don't have a textbook, and we were depending on, because the BTech students wanted fluency rather than accuracy of speaking the English language. So because of that, we were teaching the vocabulary in the classroom. These words placed in a context, meaning in that way. So actually, this particular teaching practice goes back to 1921. And many of us don't know that the history of English language evolved in this manner. And this is because of the experiments that were done by the English language teachers like you and me. And at the same time, we believe that language can be taught. Second language can be taught, and even for the native speakers also, language teaching is very important. So though it occurs very naturally. So from the First World War to the second, to the interwar years of 1940, we see the developments of vocabulary, and another important change that happened in English language teaching is graded material. That is called graded readers in language teaching. What is this graded reading? According to the standard of the learner. For example, if you have 50 students in the classroom, these 50 students would have the same kind of grasping power, comprehensibility, or what we call the comprehensible input, which I will deal with this one, which Passion said. So this comprehensible input, according to the comprehensibility of the students. So the language teachers were bringing different kinds of material into the classroom, graded material. And these graded materials were given according to the levels of the students, and they worked out what we call English language teaching in the classroom, how the second language or the second language learning can be practiced in the classroom. So this is a very important period, because the famous word counts, which even today we have, these I think you can ask questions at the end of my session. I give ample scope, because just listen to my talk and then come up with the questions we will discuss, because I'm open for questioning. I will open this discussion for opening. I will open this discussion for questioning, and you can question me, and we can do the discussion. So because some of I see the raising of hands. So the famous word counts of Thorndike, and Thorndike's Teacher's Word Book, this particular book which came out in 1921, is a very important revolutionary text. So the Teacher's Word Book and Ogden and Richards, Basic English, even today you can have this book which is very famous, which came out in 1930. And Ogden and Richards, the Basic English, and the third one is Palmer. Palmer is under Palmer. Palmer's two publications can be brought under this particular period. The period is a period between First World War to the Interwar years, that is 1914 to 1940. So if Palmer's books, two books, Oral Method of Language Teaching, very great revolutionary practice. Even if you just take Richards and Rhodes, Approaches and Methods to Language Teaching, this is there. Oral Method of Language Teaching, that is called that is a very important practice, especially in language teaching methodology. And the second book is Principles of Language Study. These two, and later on, that is from the Second World War, that is from 1945 to 1970. It is this particular period witnessed paradigm shifts, I should say, exemplary shifts in language happened. So there was a very rampant and drastic change that happened in English language teaching from one to another in just 30 or 28 years. That is, one is philology. Philology is nothing but study of language, from philology to descriptive linguistics, and then to TG grammar, transformative generative grammar. So in this particular period is very rife with changes with language teaching practices and language teaching methods. And one is from philology, it moved on to descriptive linguistics. Descriptive linguistics is a particular branch of linguistics that deal with the language use, the historical language used by a particular speaking community. And the use of language by a particular speaking community, and it studies the use of language, the historical use of language by a particular speaking community. And finally, it moved on to transformative generative grammar, a revolutionary practice that ignited, I should say, that sparked off, Farooq Alfaz. You can ask me the questions at the end of my talk. So from this, that is from 1970 onwards to early 80s, that is in just a decade, there was a very English language teaching gained a revolutionary change. It witnessed great heights of reformation. That is an important intrusion came into. I should not say it is an intrusion, but an impact. So an important impact happened on English language teaching, psychology. Psychology had a profound impact on English language teaching. And because of the impact of psychology, we have four or five different methods which have come into English language teaching. One is what we call silent method by Gatineau, and then community language teaching by Curran, and total physical response by James Asher, and Dysaggestopedia by Luzhanow. So, hello, Arun.
Sir, hearing, sir.
Yeah, some people are raising hand. Do they have any questions? Please give them the opportunity. I will stop my.
Okay, sir. At the end, we will give a chance to them, sir.
Because I informed them. Because if
Okay.
they have any urgent question, they can write it. They can write it down and they can ask me.
Okay.
So if at all, just give them an opportunity to ask the question now, and we address those questions, and I move on. Please.
Okay.
Move on, please.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
అమ్మా ఓపెన్ అయ్యా స్టూడెంట్ ఇక్కడ మొత్తం ఇది
Yeah, please. You can ask me the questions. You can unmute and ask the question. First, you have to unmute.
Hello.
Lakshmi Kumari. Yeah, please ask me. Yeah, I'm hearing. So I hear you, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Tell me. I'm listening.
Sir, is online teaching is effective for students?
I think this question can be asked because I'm not going to judge whether online teaching is good or bad, my dear friend. Please, we are discussing how English language teaching has taken revolutionary steps towards online teaching. I'm not going to judge online teaching effective or ineffective. It's up to you whether it is effective or not. You think over, because now just listen to me, because I'm not going to judge that online teaching is good or bad. I think you have your own prejudice regarding online teaching. I have my own prejudice towards online teaching, because online teaching is not as effective as offline mode. That is a face-to-face interaction between the student and the teacher in a classroom.
Okay, sir.
But given the condition of this of a pandemic that is existing, so we don't have the facility, but we are using online teaching.
Okay, sir.
And don't think that the entire educational institutions will evaporate just because of online teaching.
Okay.
Because online teaching is also a kind of method that saved us during this crisis.
Okay.
And the students did not lose their valuable academic year. And once upon a time when computer was introduced, even I was there in AC College standing with a placard in my hand that computer should go back. But now you are using a mobile phone, a mobile phone with you, which is better than a computer. So times will change, times will teach us, and don't jump to conclusions whether it is good or bad. That's my opinion. I think I'm not going to judge whether online teaching is good or bad, but I am going to tell you how English language teaching has evolved over the years, and now how, in what way we are interacting with each other across World Wide Web. I think I am clear now.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, can I continue?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah, please. I would like to tell the participants that you can ask your questions at the end of my talk, because during the talk, the thought will be broken, and it will be interesting story to listen to how we can evolve a new method in the classroom by using online teaching. Please.
Okay.
So now from 1970 to early 80s, we have language reforms were at their height. I should say that there are exemplary changes, especially in language teaching. And psychology came into existence. Psychology had its impact on language teaching, and we have methods like silent method by Gashnav, and then total physical response by James Asher, community language teaching by Karan, and finally we have Disagestropedia by Lazunov. So these practices gave a new insight into language teaching, how language teaching can be done through the psychological, through the inputs of, through using the inputs of psychology. So, in spite of these methods, because up to 1980, there was a kind of gap that was felt by the language teachers. And this gap is nothing but, in spite of these methods, there was a focus, there was an emphasis on an important thing called individualization of learning. Individualization of learning is nothing but how the learner can learn by himself or herself, that is language. So the individualization of learning is a very important phenomenon that happens. And if you just see that this individualization of learning has given a new facet to second language teaching, and second language acquisition. Because acquisition is different and learning is different, I will explain to you how this is different. So second language teaching and acquisition gained a new facet, especially because of this new phenomena. This new phenomena is nothing but break with the method. So they wanted that individualization of learning should happen in language teaching. And I would like to refer to H.H. Stern again, the fundamental concepts of language teaching, where he said that H.H. Stern simply said that he described it as a break with the method, because even in spite of all these methods, this individualization of learning, a particular perspective that prevailed over the years, throughout the development of English language history, throughout the various developments that happened that happened and that were happening in English language teaching. So all these practices, all these things, all these practices have come into existence because of all these practices were focused on individualization of learning. This particular practice of individualization of learning gave a new perspective. That perspective is a focus or much emphasis on learner, or what we call the learner-centeredness. So this learner-centeredness has removed focus from an important perspective which happened in English language classroom, that is called teacher's performance. Because it is a dramatic monologue, or what we call the teacher's monologue in the classroom that was happening. That is chalk and talk method, the teacher going into the classroom and performing in the classroom, and based on the teacher's performance, the student thinks that he had acquired a few tenets of language, and over the years he will be under the influence of the teacher, and the teacher and the classroom situation will be over at the end of the academic year, and again the learner is left in the lurch. So this kind of practice that had happened over the years, that had at once had a break because of this individualization of learning. That is, learner was centered and teacher's performance was marginalized. And one of the important turns, or one of the important changes that came in ELT was the establishment of English for specific purposes. So that is called, this individualization of learning has given rise to an important change in English language system, English language teaching method, that is called ESP, English for specific purposes. The emphasis was more on social context. For the first time, English for specific purposes focused on what we call the emphasis on social context and the need and the appropriacy of use in a particular of English language in a particular context. We cannot use English language, what we call the generalized English language, in a particular technical situation, because a technical situation or a specific situation requires specific vocabulary, specific structures, and the general communication doesn't come into practice, or doesn't come in handy. So this brought into prominence a very important change in English language, that is called meaning focused teaching. What I told you in the beginning, that is form focused and meaning focused. So this brought into existence that is called the individualization of learning brought into practice, a very important change in English language teaching that is called the meaning-focused. Del Hymes, which propounded this particular concept called Del Hymes, who is a famous linguist, and he's also called a social linguist. And Del Hymes said that meaning-focused teaching should take precedence over grammatical competence. So the competence of expressing of expressing language in a particular situation is very important rather than the grammatical competence. For example, it is not necessary that you know how many simple propositions are there. Because if you just ask me, because I am trained in grammar translation method, my teacher, my father told me that these are the simple propositions and you have to tell me at any time. If I ask you, you have to tell me at any time. In that after from since for by with up upon or through till to up over. So this is the kind of mantra that we were practicing grammar rules, grammar structures. And this this competence of grammar gave way to an important phenomenon called meaning-focused in English language, ELT. So I think at this particular juncture, because of the evolution of ESP and these basic methods which changed over the years, an important method that influenced the modern century came into existence. That is called communicative language teaching, CLT. And the CLT took off very richly. And it was just like it was so popular even in Europe and also in the developing countries like India when it took off with the efforts of, I think most of you know, Council of Europe. Council of Europe is an association, is a forum which worked on CLT, communicative language teaching, because they wanted to expand the power of English. They wanted that English has to be used because English has become a very popular language after Mandarin. Mandarin is a Chinese language, as we know, which is largely spoken in the world. And English language, and there were certain competitors that came into this, which the form of artificial languages like Wallapuk and Esperanto. These are artificial languages which were created in order to dominate the resurgence and at the same time the hegemony of English language. So CLT, communicative language teaching, evolved because of the intense efforts of Council of Europe, and with the publication of an important document called a notional syllabus. Notional syllabus in 1976. So this 1976, when this notional syllabus was published, it became a revolutionary draft. It was a manifesto for language teaching. It shocked the world, English language teaching world, because the basic functions of language, that is what we call inviting, agreeing, disagreeing. So the basic functions of language have become the units of categorization in language syllabus. So now there are no what we call lesson 1, Stephen Leacock with a photographer. Lesson 2, Bangal Sillas, Sarojini Naidu. This kind of syllabus has been given up. What we call the predetermined syllabus has gone out. And now for the first time, the functions of language teaching, the functions of English language, or the functions of the basic functions of language have become the units of categorization in language syllabus. And this is a revolutionary concept. And now we have to look at how this got a resurgence. The CLT gained a resurgence and how it gained power and how it has come to stay over the years. Stephen Krashen, a particular language philosopher, a linguist and a language philosopher, came out in 1981 with a book called Second Language Acquisition and Second Language Teaching. I think it is now available even on the internet also. You can download it. Very interesting. So, second language acquisition and second language learning, wherein he draws a distinction between what is language acquisition and what is language learning. And acquisition, according to him, is nothing but a conscious assimilation of the grammar of language. Because my second language is English language only. And before I spoke English language, my father told me, being my teacher, my father told me you have to know the rules of grammar. Without grammar, you cannot speak English language. But I know grammar rules, the rules of grammar, but I can't speak up to 10th class. And even though I studied in English medium, there was a gap between the theory and practice. Theory, I know theory well, but in practice, I was a zero. And how do can be used, and in what context does has to be used, I know. But how to use it, in which context I have to use it, and how the question has to be posed, and how a statement has to be made. So this kind of exposure is not given. So the same thing happened with what we call language learners. So language learners, they learn a conscious imbibing of the rules of grammar. So they consciously imbibe the rules of grammar, but acquisition is different. Native speakers of English language, they get the acquisition, the power of acquisition. That is unconscious assimilation of grammar of language. So this is called what we call the monitor model. Stephen Krashen came out with the monitor model, which added up to the power and sphere of CLT, communicative language teaching. And even today, most of you as English teachers, you are practicing the same method in the classroom. That is how the monitor model, that is to lessen the difference or neutralize the difference between language acquisition and language learning. What you are doing in a language laboratory, you are teaching, you are telling the students to be adept with or be skillful with the use of language in a contextual situation, in a social context, and in a particular in a context which arises without notice, unforeseen social circumstances. So this particular practice, again, another important input, another important notion, or another important strain that Stephen Krashen brought into English language teaching is what we call the comprehensible input. This comprehensible input revolutionized language teaching, I should say. This is a great book. And what this comprehensible input is, it focused more on learning process. A great word that communicative language, what we call this communicative language teaching, adopted, and it held it very close to its heart. Learning process. So this learning process, it focused more on the learning process. And what is this learning process? Because what Stephen Krashen simply said, in the comprehensible input, what does the learner bring in order to learn a particular second language? What does the learner bring to the task of learning? And how much of what is taught in the classroom is comprehensible to the learner? So you know excellent grammar, you know the stylish use of English language. But if your learner is a zero, and if he doesn't bring after his 12 or 13 years of study, that is up to BTech first year, if he doesn't bring anything from his background, and he comes into the class and sits with a blank face and without any comprehensible input, even if you're speaking excellent language, he can enjoy it, but he cannot speak it. He cannot comprehend it. So comprehensible input focuses more on what we call the learning process. And another important thing for the learning process is what we call the comprehensible input. This comprehensible input is nothing but what does the learner bring to the task of learning. So if the learner doesn't bring anything, the learning process will extend. If the learning brings something to the classroom, the what we call the tenure of learning process will reduce. This is a great change, especially that was a psychological input that was given by Stephen Krashen. It's a psychological notion that was brought into English language teaching by Stephen Krashen. So what I should tell you here is this comprehensible input focused more on learning process rather than on learning product. There are two different things: learning process and learning product. In your engineering colleges, what you focus on is not the process. You are focusing on learning product. So you think about students as the student outcomes. How can an outcome come if the learner doesn't bring anything to the classroom? The comprehensible input should be there. If at all the comprehensible input is not there, don't focus on the learning product, but focus on the learning process. This learning process is very important, and it means that this learning process simply says that the incubation period or the gestation period for the production of language is different for each learner. That is, I can speak language in 6 months, but some other speaker takes 2 years time to speak language. Another takes 5 years, another takes 10 years. So this is a democratic phenomenon that was evolved by Stephen Krashen. Don't think that the outcomes of a language learning class is always are always the same. The outcomes of the language teaching class will be different. These are heterogenic in nature. And what Stephen Krashen simply said, the incubation period and gestation period to the production of language is entirely different from one learner to another. It means simply that it is very difficult to consider a learner. So don't expect a learner that he will be of high level, low level, average, low grade learner. That is very important. And another thing is the gestation period for each learner for the production of language will be entirely different. That is another problem, another thing. And the third important thing is very, very important. That is, he simply said, Stephen Krashen simply said, you cannot teach language with a predetermined syllabus because you do not know how the learner is and how much of comprehensible input the learner is bringing to the classroom. Because if he is bringing only 0 and your language teaching material is a 10, that ranks 10 in the grade point. So a 10 grade point material cannot teach a 0 point student, a person who is at least at 1 point or 2 points or 3 points. At least he should have, if your material is 5 or 4, and if he has 1, you can try making him travel from learn to from known to the unknown. That is what happens in an educational scenario. We teach the student every time we go into the classroom. We teach from we try to teach from a known point to the unknown point. So this is what is called Stephen Krashen's comprehensible input and model. And now comes what we call the networking, or what we call the important technological mediation. Many people think, yes, I got a question now that, sir, how far the online teaching? Do you support online teaching? Is online teaching effective? Online teaching is effective in the sense that how you are using it, how the language teacher is using it. I'm teaching online for the past 3 months, and the English and foreign languages is the only university, the only central university which conducts examinations online. And it is because of the great effort of our honorable vice chancellor. So it is because if you have the heart, and if you know the means, certainly you will reach the end. So means are very much essential to reach the end. Don't have prejudiced and preoccupied judgments within you. But try and then test how and in what manner online teaching can be done, and what are the lacunae. And if you find any lacunae, try to bridge a gap between you and the student, and how the gap can be bridged. And because it is online teaching cannot be like face-to-face mode. If you are in my seminar hall, if you sit in the seminar hall, I will perform better rather than what I'm performing now, because I like only chat and talk method. I don't use any PowerPoint presentation. Now also, I'm not using any PowerPoint. I don't use PowerPoint presentation in the classroom. But at the same time, a language teacher should be adept in what we call technology mediation. Also, I know I can work with Photoshop. I can work with PageMaker, and I worked out several brochures. And I was the editor of a newsletter, which was brought out by myself with the help of our vice chancellor in Vikram Singapore University. I know everything, but my teaching practice is different. My teaching practice, when I go into the classroom, I don't have any material in my hand, and I teach without material, with only points in mind, no PowerPoint. So this is my teaching, but I don't criticize online teaching. So if we have this kind of what we call assimilative ideas in our mind, we have to assimilate everything. We have to adopt everything, and we have to adapt, and we have to change according to the situations. And that is called a teacher. And you can become an effective language teacher according to your own your own strategies that matches with the demands of the times. Okay, now the focus of very important thing here is from CLT, from comprehensible input and monitoring model, we now move on to the
Sir.
online teaching methodology. Yeah,
Sir, Arun sir.
yeah, please.
Sir, Rahina Sheikh. Sir, please mute her, sir. Some sounds are coming from her that side.
I don't have.
Rahina Sheikh. Sir, you are a host, sir. I have given host to sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, good, sir.
Because the problem is my participants. Yes,
Mute.
who is that?
Mute all, sir. Mute all, sir.
Mute all. So I think now I am visible. I think some of the people are also. Yeah. So now my focus will be on how the online teaching has become so rampant and so popular in modern times. And from CLT, how online teaching or technology mediation in language teaching has emerged. So the focus of instruction has broadened from teaching of discrete grammatical structures to the fostering of communication. And the fostering of communication through expressing meaning. Meaning became very important. And negotiation of meaning and expression of meaning. These two have become so much important in the modern scenario. So now the teaching of discrete grammatical structures is not important, but the fostering of meaning and negotiation of meaning has taken precedence over the time. And now another important aspect also added with this is called culture. Culture gained new interest. It has renewed interest. It has gained renewed interest, especially among the language teachers. And how this has emerged and how this has come into how it has gained momentum. So my focus is that culture gained renewed interest in multilingual context, and in a situation where we are required to teach online, and language teaching methodology has become revolutionized because of an important phenomenon, a significant phenomenon that had come of age, and I should say that it has come to stay also. That is called CAL, computer-assisted language learning. And many of you know this, but computer-assisted language learning is a very significant method that moved us towards online. And it is a very good, what we call an intermediary stage, or what we call a stage which we pass through. And we were very comfortable using computers in a language laboratory. And because we were working with the students face to face, even in language laboratory. But one thing is a teacher who sits at the master computer, and at the disciple computer, the students sit, and we were interacting with them. We were playing CD-ROMs, and we were also playing the laser discs, and language learning was facilitated. But now in online situation, the only thing is the space to, at least the presence of the students is not. But very important thing is it is a virtual world, an asymptomatic situation where the communication happens in inconsequently. What I should say, it doesn't happen at the same time. So if I'm speaking now, some people may be laying down in the bed and listening to it, and not sitting, especially at the desk and listening to my speech. So that's why some people may record it and listen to it later. This is called the asymptomatic situation. This asymptomatic situation came into existence because of a very important intermediary measure that we adopted ourselves in the language laboratories. That is called asymptomatic. And this asymptomatic learning came into practice because of CAL, and a significant method that was used in language laboratories, computer-assisted language. And significantly, language learners today, they can use CD-ROMs, what we call laser discs for language practices like Oxford language dictionaries, Cambridge language dictionaries can be loaded, and even the software can be bought and can be used what we call official version, the true versions of the companies can be loaded in mobile language. And they can communicate across globe by using World Wide Web, and also they can access foreign language documents on the internet. So this has brought a new facet to English language teaching, or what we call the second language acquisition, which we say. And the second language acquisition, the new facet of second language acquisition is the tying up of technology to language teaching. Yes, this is a very important statement which was given by Carol A. Chappell. Carol A. Chappell in computer applications and second language acquisition. This book is also available. So, 2001. This is a revolutionary book where he said that technology in 21st century was so tied up to English language teaching that it has become an important facet of second language acquisition. And another significant factor that emerged in language teaching is integration of ICT, that is information and communication technology. The information and communication technology became integrated with language teaching that gave a fresh and new facet to CAL, computer-assisted language learning. So, in Carol A. Chappell, in his book, Computer Applications and Second Language Acquisition, says anyone concerned with second language teaching and acquisition need to grasp the unique nature of technology-mediated tasks that learners engage in language acquisition. So today, learners are using, it is not the teacher who is using the technology, especially in the classroom. You may be using something or electronic mail or a Moodle, which we call a platform on which you can interact with your students virtually. So this is what we call a Moodle, M-O-O-D-L, Moodle software, which is available. I think several engineering colleges are using this Moodle. And these internet platforms are used very widely, and they were popularized by students, not by teachers. So the language learners are using and the second language in a second language acquisition system. So Chappell explores the interface between second language acquisition. A new phenomenon has acquired that is called what we call task-based approach. So task-based language teaching. So the interface happened because of the evolution of technology mediation. There was an interface among three important domains. One is called CAL, computer-assisted language learning, and another is second language acquisition, and the third phase is a task-based approach. These three intermingle with each other in the online teaching. So don't underestimate online teaching. And it is going to become the sole method of language teaching in the future, because if at all this kind of pandemic occurs again, and if a crisis of this magnitude happens again and again, so we have to resort to online teaching, and the social distancing factors come into scenario. In online practice, whoever is left over for his end. So one important thing is that when the computer came into existence, people who learned it they could acquire their bread. And who did not learn it, they lost their bread. So remember, be in touch with the times, keep abreast of the moments. A language teacher has to be very much in touch with the times and keep abreast of the moments, keep himself or herself abreast of the moments. Now, in this scenario, the Holy Union, I should say, the Holy Union is between English language skill development, especially in colleges and also universities, because of the interface that happened among the three. It is called second language acquisition, language learning, and task-based approaches that emerged. So a new union, a Holy Union appeared in a new language learning scenario that is called English language skill development with an ICT integration along with task-based approach. So what we are doing today in the language classroom is this: English language skill development through technology mediation, that is called ICT, with what we call second language acquisition process. So this whole union occurred, and now I should say that new literacies have come into existence. New literacies of digital education came into existence that include. The first thing is even today we have teachers acquiring professionalism through virtualization. Virtualization of language teachers' professional development. That is, I think many of you can do programs, refresher courses or orientation programs, especially refresher courses on a platform called Arpit, especially on internet it is available. The new government, the central government is a platform called Arpit. And on this you can register yourself and you can complete your course in 2 weeks and you can get your certificate. That is what we call virtualization of language teachers' professional development. The second important thing is what we call synchronous and asynchronous communication, or synchronous and asynchronous communication that is happening across worldwide. And another thing is use of electronic platforms like Zoom, electronic platform like Cisco Web, or Google Meet, Google Groups, etc. All these come under electronic effective use of electronic platforms. The third one is use of Web 2 technologies and 3D virtual worlds. So when we look at the development of the technology mediation over the years, right from 1980s, so I would like to state here, I turn my attention to state one important factor. The factor is two advantages we have got. The two advantages that have occurred over the years, and these two advantages were brought forth by technology mediation, and it provided an opportunity. The first advantage is technology mediation provided an opportunity to the language teacher to come in touch or to come into contact with other learning scenarios. For example, what is happening outside India, what is happening in Singapore, what is happening in South Africa, and how language teaching occurs in America. So this kind of what we can consider other learning situations. The second important thing is it gave us an opportunity to engage with language teaching across national borders. So now we can even interact with a foreign country, and we can invite their expertise. So this kind of facility has been provided by online, what we call this online teaching or technology mediation. So technology mediation has also brought forth a paradigm shift, new paradigms, especially in language teaching. One is called project work, and project-based work, content-based, and experiential learning, and constructive and social constructive theories. So all these may look very highly jargonish, but if you just look at you are doing in the classroom project-based approach, content-based approach, and you are also through your material through the material that you take to the classroom, you may be administering a particular social learning theory. That is how language teaching can be taught in a cultural context. So I will explain in my talk how we are doing it. So technology mediation in language learning has not only given the opportunity to engage in uh, different kinds of social cultural learning theories, but it also gave an opportunity to see the transmission of English language teaching over the years. That is, English language teaching moved from structural and behavioral approach, which we call the earliest approach in language teaching, to the next stage called communicative approach. And the third phase, which we are now, is called the integrative phase. So technology mediation has brought forth into the third phase. From the communicative phase, we were brought into a new phase called integrative phase. So you cannot deny that you cannot be in integrative phase because you will be pulled into it. And if you whoever resists this particular change will be left over. So remember, my dear teachers, remember, my dear colleagues, all of you have to get absorbed into this new phenomenon, because those who get absorbed into this new phenomenon of technology mediation only will survive as a teacher, or only will be looked up to. So from structural to behavioral, we have traveled to through communicative phase, and now we are in integrative phase. And especially in the communicative phase, if we just look at pedagogically more pedagogically controlled tasks were used. That is, teaching became very important. That is, teacher assistance has become very important. But in the same kind of teacher assistance will also be there in online teaching, because many teachers are resisting online teaching because teacher becomes a totem, just an image, a virtual image. Students will forget the teacher. Student may not get the same kind of impact that he gets in a classroom. It is not like that. It is teacher assistance will continue, and teacher assistance will be a major factor even in online teaching. That's what my opinion is right from the beginning. So if you just look at this one, especially in the decade since the popularization of language laboratories, we saw different transmissions. The different transmissions are from mainframe computers. We have come down to microcomputers, and from microcomputers to laptop, and from analog technologies to digital technologies. Now we are using worldwide. That is what. And if you just see this has given a fresh and challenging potential to language learning. And don't think that online teaching or technology mediation is a disappointing factor or a discouraging factor for language. It is going to strengthen us. That's what you should have a strong opinion in your mind. And teacher's assistance, teacher being a facilitator, the role of teacher being a facilitator is going to be strengthened because of this technology mediation. And very importantly, here you have to see that since there are even today with all the technology mediation, with all these happening, we see that am I audible to all of you? Hello?
Sir, okay, sir.
Okay, right.
Okay, sir.
Is it going on smoothly?
Hello? Sir.
Is it going on smoothly? Is it going on smoothly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. Can I take another half an hour?
Okay, sir.
Right. So, in the decade since the popularity of language laboratory, we have seen all these things. And it is very important, while significant digital divides still happen in the world today, because only a few people have access to the computers, only a few people have high volume internet connectivity. Some people have undervalued and undervalued. So these technology divides, or what we call significant digital divides, are happening in the society. But an important thing is, with all these digital divides happening in the society, these groups are connected across internet, and they are using web-based social networking platforms, especially social networking applications like WhatsApp, Instagram, and especially in this pandemic situation, you you would have realized how WhatsApp and Facebook, especially Facebook live videos, and also Google Meet. So all these, how effective these were, and how helpful and how handy they have assisted the teacher in these crisis times. Now, if you just look at this, we also get an idea that against this background of what we call the society being increasingly mobile, network-based society, wireless society, and mobile society, I would like to refer to a famous computer scholar called Castell. Castell, in his book called The Rise of Networking Society, said that online education or technology mediation is going to bring a fresh facet to second language acquisition, a new and fresh facet to second language acquisition. So now, because of this today, because of this technology mediation and with ample existence of material on the internet, today language learners can develop multimodal communicative and task competencies, and multimodal communicative and task competencies which are over and above writing and reading skills. So if you just look at how technology has assisted the learners to improve, I think we have to support technology, and we have to be in touch with the technology. And a language teacher should essentially be a person living with the times, but not living with the times and beyond times, rather than living under times. So I think if you live under times, I think you can't survive as a teacher. So I would like to move into another important aspect of what we call the socio-cultural learning theories that came into scenario in multilingual context, because our theme is English language teaching through technology mediation in multilingual context. So I'm going to connect this technology mediation of language learning in the multilingual context. In the multilingual context, especially with the use of the technology mediation and also with the potential use of internet, a new approach has come into existence. That is, a new approach or method has come into existence. It is called task-based teaching method. And task-based teaching method has another important facet called what we call task-based authentic learning. Very important this is. Every one of you think that task-based approach, everything is task-based approach. Everything that if you bring a material into the classroom, a task into the classroom, and if you are facilitating the learner in the classroom through the task, it is not task-based. Task-based authentic learning is something that is tasks that are derived from authentic sources. There are two materials: authentic materials, graded materials. What are authentic materials? Authentic materials, most of you know, that are available in newspapers, on the internet, on the WhatsApp, even a WhatsApp message which is very inspiring can be brought to the classroom and can be taught. And this kind of language teaching is called task-based authentic learning that has come to the foreground because of this online teaching, or what we call technology mediation, larger title. So this technology mediation brought forth this particular one, which also enunciated the importance of social cultural learning theories. And if we look at these social cultural learning theories, this task-based authentic learning strikes a chord with the origin of task-based approach. So task-based approach, when task-based approach came to existence, task-based authentic learning also came into existence. And task-based authentic learning is expounded by the teacher in the classroom, and how it was expounded, because the language teacher wanted to be very much real, and wanted to give a kind of real experience to the learner, and the real experience comes under an educational psychology, which was propounded by John Dewey, Dewey. And without knowing, we are doing even the psychological factors in a language class. It is, if you are a true practitioner, if you are a true teacher of English language teaching, every time when you leave the classroom, you think what to do in the class next. And if that kind of reflective practice is there, if that kind of reflection goes on in your mind, you evolve different strategies of competence that can be effectively imparted to the learner. So this, when task-based approach came into existence, the task-based authentic learning was also introduced by the teaching classroom. And and it is very important that this task-based learning approach can be traced back to the 21st century's educational theories, especially one of the famous theories that was put forward by the American educational philosopher called John Dewey. And this John Dewey simply said that he argued for an authentic learning for the learner, and the learner should be connected to the real-time experience, the real-world experience, rather than knowledge that is acquired in isolation in a classroom. See the difference, just like Stephen Krashen gave the difference between, drew the distinction between language acquisition and language learning. John Dewey, through his educational philosophy in 1938, the book's name is Experience in Learning. Experience in Education. Experience in Education in 1939. He brought forth this particular notion, what we call an importance frame in educational psychology. It is called, he argued for a type of authentic learning that would connect the learner to the real experience of the world, rather than knowledge acquired in isolation in a classroom. So the knowledge acquired in isolation in the classroom may die after some time, but the real experience that is given by the teacher through authentic material, it always exists. So this kind of real experience we have to give, what he said. And if we go deeper, we have there are clear affiliations between several educational psychologies. One is by John Dewey, what we call experiential learning, which was propounded in the book called Experience in Education in 1930. Experiential learning is the theory that we forward, through which he wanted an authentic experience to be given to the student, rather than in opposition to the knowledge learned in isolation in a classroom. So that is the first theory. The second one is by Bruner. Bruner, emphasis on learning through discovery. Very important, this one is. Emphasis on learning through discovery. The learner himself has to discover learning. And if he discovers learning, it will be forever. And this is a very important educational psychology brought forth by Bruner in 1960 and 62. Two papers he wrote, and those two papers stand as phenomenal. And the third one is by none other than Vygotsky. Vygotsky in Mind in Society, in the book called Mind and Society, argued for theories of knowledge and agency. So this is the kind of technology, how technology brought forth a new facet to language learning, or language learning and teaching. We can enunciate, and we can firmly say that technology mediation has slowly descended or gradually moved the English teaching or English learning teaching practices in a new context called multilingual context. Given the context of India, every language learner is exposed to at least 2 or 3 languages. For example, myself, I was exposed to 3 languages. My mother tongue is Telugu, the second language is English, and now I am learning a bit of Hindi also. So every language learner is exposed to 2 or 3 languages. And in this context, India, if you just see, the first country that announced itself as a multilingual country was Canada in the 1970s. And Canada, because of the situation that was existing in Canada, they thought that multilingualism will assist, and they also were working on it. Even now, also they are working on it effectively. And now we have several multilingual countries like India, even Singapore, So in multilingual countries, how India emerge, or what are the teaching practices that India can evolve in a multilingual context? That's what is the question. That's what I am going to share through my talk. So, in this context, India has is projected as a significant country in multilingual scenario. And in multilingual context, very importantly, what I would like to use is culture acquires a renewed meaning. And culture has to be taught in the classroom along with other four skills of language. Culture becomes the fifth important skill to be taught in the classroom. And this is this is a very intricate situation. This is an enigmatic situation, especially for the language teacher. How the culture can be taught. And culture can be taught through technology mediation, because you can access different drafts, different documents across World Wide Web, and you can bring them. You can change the context, and you can place them in the social context. And you can teach it, and this is facilitated by technology mediation. And in a multilingual context, what is important is the teaching of culture as a fifth language skill is very important, and this has to be taught in addition to the other four language skills, which we say LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And how this by teaching culture as a fifth language skill, what we are helping the learner, in what way we are helping the learner? We are helping the learner to develop a mindset and technique of the use of English, not just English. Even if the French is taught in a multilingual context, especially if you go to Canada, there are francophone students, and how they are teaching in Canada, French to English people, and English people learn French, and French learn English. And if you just see how this practice is going on, they teach language along with culture. So culture becomes an ingredient in language teaching. And this is what we are. This is what we have to do in a multilingual context, which we lack as far as I see. So how this culture can be taught, and the culture can be taught so as to help the learners to develop a new mindset and techniques of use of English language in appropriate context. So how an Englishman says thank you, and how an Englishman invites the person, how he declines, how he disagrees. So with all these language functions, what are the language functions are there? If we invite culture along with this, and if we help the students, they will develop new mindset and technique of using English language, and they learn about the unique aspects of other cultures. So this is what a multilingual context really facilitates us. And given this context, let us therefore redefine our teaching methods and approaches in second language scenario. And very importantly, this in a multilingual context, we can practice is we can bring language in a social context, and it opens a new business for the English language teacher. So when language is placed in a social context, it gives an encompassing view, an all-encompassing view, so that we can have a larger techniques at our disposal, and wider and central techniques of central importance at our disposal. We can teach language very effectively. And I would like to tell you that especially in the multilingual context, lesson plan is very important. Before you go to the classroom, what you have to do, because as language teachers, lesson plan, most of us won't focus on the lesson plan, but lesson plan is important in a multilingual context in order to teach culture, because as we are focusing on how to teach culture, so here comes the important role that is played by lesson plan. So before you plan your lecture, what you have to do, just question whether the objectives of the syllabus are clear or not. So today you are adopting a particular task and you are going with a syllabus to the class. So just think of the objectives. Through this particular task, what you are going to achieve. and how the objectives can be achieved. The second important thing, does the lesson plan involve the students? Very important this is. And does the lesson plan involve the students? The third important thing is, does the lesson plan include problem solving skills? This problem solving skill is very important in the sense that people simply uh, focus on LSRW skills, and they give some tasks to them and they leave. But critical thinking, questioning is very important, and problem solving. If at all the question is evolved by the student, let us focus on the same question has to be answered by another student rather than by the teacher. So if at all the question uh, was not answered by any student, then teacher comes into picture. So then the real interaction can happen in the classroom. And the fourth important thing is, please be clear with, does the lesson plan include the three domains, what we call the cognitive domain, affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. So if at all these three domains are included in the language in the lesson plan, then culture can be you can simply say that the task or the syllabus, language syllabus, has clearly spelled the objectives, has clearly involved the learner, and has clearly included the problem solving skills, so that the main end, the chief end that the teacher likes to achieve in the classroom of the learner outcome can be achieved. And next, I would like to say that what is this? What happens in a multilingual classroom? In multilingual classroom, apart from teaching culture as the fifth important language skill, another important thing happens. Can you guess what it is? Teaching the learning process. I told you, that's why I refer to Stephen Krashen. So Stephen Krashen, who said that learning process is very important rather than the learning product. So because don't think that every method is redundant. Methods remain forever, but how you are going to adopt the salient features of the methods in the classroom makes it a better multilingual context. So teaching the learning process is a very important characteristic of multilingual classroom. And the important thing here is the real question that we have to put now is there text in multilingual classroom? No. I won't say that there is a text in the English language class in multilingual context. We can have an ever-expanding text. The ever-expanding text is the teacher can evolve materials from the authentic sources. And the learning the learner-centered activities should evolve out of authentic materials, which are aimed at targeted, systematic, and graded learning. So targeted, systematic, and graded activities. So if we prepare the material in such a way from the authentic sources, like the material that is derived from the paper, from the advertisements, from the hoardings, and from WhatsApp, from the Instagram, or from the pink pages or the yellow pages of the paper, which are very much interesting, which is regarding diet plan, nutritional plans, or how the new lifestyles are emerging. So if such interesting material is taught in the classroom, we can certainly evolve the learning, and we can effectively teach language through authentic materials, which will be very. And finally, I would like to draw the conclusion here. The dynamics of the English language classroom gain the momentum because these are all the theoretical aspects. And I also told you how the language teaching can happen in a classroom by effectively using authentic materials and teaching culture through authentic materials. Very importantly, remember, here comes a major shift, because when you look at this scenario, you may think that how can English culture be taught in class? We are not going to teach English culture, but we are going to assimilate English culture into our culture. And how I would like to turn my attention to one of the important statements, one of the important aspects in the introduction, which happened during the introduction of English education in India. That is the Macaulay's Minute. Charles, neither a dainty discussion or a contemplative debate passes without the mention of Charles Babington Macaulay in Indian cinema. Because Charles Babington Macaulay, in his infamous spirit, though people say it is infamous, but he gave us a direction. He wanted to create Indians, a manpower from the Indians who are educated in English. And he wanted Indians in blood and color, but English in taste, opinions, and intellect. And he wanted a man force. This particular thing is, if you just look at very closely, what Macaulay's Minute really promises is, he wanted Indians in blood and color, but English in taste, opinion, and intellect. So we can simply say it is not indoctrination of English texts. It is the transformation of educated Indians, English educated Indians, into their culture. But it is a revolutionary concept. It was a jolt to the Indian education, because they wanted a transmission of they wanted a transformation of culture from Indian to English. But in a multilingual context, we are not going to do that. We are going to we cannot adopt what we call the extremist view of Thomas Babington Macaulay, who wanted a cultural transformation and a cultural transmission. But we want the assimilation of culture, and that assimilation of culture provides an important facet to multilingual context called cross-cultural competence instead of requiring cultural transmission. So this is what we are going to gain. And if these strategies are adopted by the teacher, and if the assimilation of culture has been done, and if the cross-cultural competency is through teaching culture through authentic materials, I think the dynamics of the English classroom drastically change, and the theoretical practice, whatever the theoretical practices and methods that exist in the English language classroom, will gain the momentum of practice and practice. Thank you very much. Arun?
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, is it clear for you, sir? I'm speaking.
Yes, it is clear. Yes, it is
Sir,
clear.
thank you, sir. You have brought us to the very link with literature and culture and language, especially in English. And I have got an idea, sir, what actually we are teaching only English, but we are forgetting the culture of English. But it is we are being Indians and we receive the culture of India and including with English and teaching the students in the classroom. It is the very
My idea is
it's a good
my idea is
right, sir.
in multilingual context. My idea is it is not teaching English culture.
Right, sir.
Here, it is because very important thing here I would like to mention Tom MacArthur, who wrote a book called The English Languages, not English Language, English Languages in 1998. You can refer to this book. The idea of in this particular text called the English Languages, he gave up the notion of what we call monolithic concept of English culture, because English culture is treated as a monolithic concept. And what he said, English is going to have a potential challenge as it comes into contact with cross-cultural competencies in multilingual context. When English comes into contact with the cross-cultural competencies, and also in a multilingual situation, there was a threat to English culture. So today we don't have English, but English is different Englishes are happening. A family of languages. That's why Tom MacArthur simply said, he unsubscribed that there is only one English language. He said there are several English languages today: Indian English, South African English, Canadian English, and New Zealandish. So there are different English languages, because each English language is based on the culture that came into contact in that particular country. English language coming into contact with in that particular country. So my opinion is that Indian English language has to be focused on, rather than purely standardized English language.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So very outstanding information from you, sir. We got today. So rest of all participants, because of the network problem and so on, other problems are getting down. The link deactivated. So I'm going to give a link for the brief feedback in the English webinar. So all of the participants fill up your feedback forms and get the certificate in 1 or 2 days. I'm going to give the link in English webinar, and uses of this link, you can give the feedback. After that feedback, the certificate will be generated automatically to your mails. Sir, thank you so much, sir, for your good cooperation.
Okay, Varun, can I have any questions? I would like to take questions. So,
Sir, Satya Fani
yeah,
Kumari.
please. Yeah, you can speak, Satyapani Kumari.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Have you recognized me, sir? I am Fani Kumari from PVP Siddhartha, sir.
Okay. Very nice to see you, ma'am. Yeah.
Very nice to see you, sir. I'm very happy that you are giving a wonderful. You have given a very wonderful speech, sir. I have followed you. Whatever you said, so many valuable points I have noticed and I have noted down, sir. Sir, you have told that we have to concentrate on English, Indian English. But all the people, why our faculty members, so we stress upon the phonetics, and why should we ask the students to follow the correct pronunciation if we concentrate on Indian English?
My opinion is, I think there is a small gap here between your understanding and IP. So we practice phonetics only to neutralize the accent, not to standardize our accent. There are two things. One is standardizing of accent. Standardizing of accent, for example, my pronunciation is not the pronunciation of native speaker. It is an Indian English pronunciation. Though I try to neutralize my accent, neutralize in the sense that I can't be a native speaker, because my mother tongue interference will be there. My mother tongue influence will be there. So what we have to aim at is the neutralization of pronunciation. You can't be like a native speaker, a British speaker speaking from Oxford. So that Oxford speaker's English is entirely different, and sometimes the stress and the accent that he uses, we may not use, because our stress, what we call the stress that is used in Telugu language, probably will have its interference on English language. But we try to reduce that margin, bring that down as close as possible to the native speaker, not like a native speaker. We can't be a native speaker, and if you aim at being a native speaker, you are losing your individuality. And that's why I told you, there are Englishes today, there is no English. There are Englishes today. Don't say that I want to have received pronunciation. Why received pronunciation? Because Indian pronunciation is accepted, American pronunciation is accepted, Canadian pronunciation is accepted. So when these different pronunciations are accepted across the world, why should we emerge? Why should we just simply want to have a received pronunciation and turn like a native speaker? Because that can't be achieved.
Yes, very informative, sir. Thank you very much.
So please convey my regards to the English faculty there, because I worked there for some time.
Sure, sir.
4 years. Yeah, and
Sure.
Neelambaram, please ask Neelambaram and my best wishes to Ramchandra. Ramchandra, sir.
Yes, sir. Sure,
Thank you.
sir. Sure. Thank you.
Please, any questions? Anyone?
Yes, any questions, please?
Any questions, please?
I'm interested in taking questions rather than delivering the talk. No questions?
No questions.
Arun, I would like to ask you a small favor. Please send me the video recording of this entire talk.
Sir, it's a live recording, sir.
Live recording, but can I have the record of this one?
Okay, sir.
If
Sir,
you can send me the
it is
recording.
available. It is available on YouTube, sir.
Oh, YouTube.
It is available on YouTube, sir. Whenever you want to listen, sir, you go on
With,
the
with what with what title? With what title?
same, sir. What's the webinar is giving the titles now?
Oh, English language same.
Teaching technologies to integrating
Okay.
everything.
Okay,
Sir.
with the same title, the is
Title.
posted.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, I take leave then.
Okay,
Because
sir.
no questions are being asked. Thank you all the participants. Thank you very much. I wish all of you a very happy teaching career.
Okay, nice meeting, sir.
I think Chairpur Sridevi is asking questions.
Sridevi asking questions.
Yeah. Please, you can ask the question, Sridevi.
Sridevi, Chairpur Sridevi Garu, please ask questions. Okay, sir. There is a problem in connection.
Anyone would like to ask a question? Participants? Because a talk should be followed by questions. There should be no silence.
Okay, sir. We're going to end the session, sir.
Yeah. Right. See.
Thank
Thank you, Arun.
Nice, sir.
And
Thank you so much, sir.
yeah.